Welcome to the NJIT website and math podcast. My name is Vanessa, and today I'll be covering solving quadratic equations. Now there's two methods for solving quadratic equations that I'm going to cover in this tutorial. One is going to be completing the square, and the other is going to be using the quadratic formula. Completing the square takes some getting used to because there's several steps involved, so I'm going to go over that one first. We'll start by just doing a simple example. So say we had this example. Okay. 3x squared minus 4x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is take the constant, in this case being minus 1, and you want to put it by itself on the other side of the equal sign. So we're going to do that by simply adding 1 to both sides. So that gives us 3x squared minus 4x is equal to 1. Okay, now the next step, which is very important, is that always the highest degree, in this case always the x squared, always has to have a coefficient of 1 no matter what. This is an absolute must. So in this case the coefficient is 3, so in order to make it 1 we have to divide every term in the equation by 3. So we're simply going to do divide by 3, divide by 3, and divide by 3. So then once we do that, and also another thing we want to do in this step is that once you're in the middle of dividing, you're going to put some space on both sides of the equal sign, but I'll show you what I mean. So then 3x squared divided by 3 is just x squared. Minus 4x over 3 is 4 over 3 times x. Now I'm going to put some space here in this here and on the other side of the equal sign. So I'm going to put the equal sign over here. The reason I'm doing that is because we're going to fill those spaces in with numbers in a second. And then 1 over 3 is just simply 1/3. And I'm going to put that over here. Again, because we need to leave some space to fill in to do completing the square. Now here's the most important step here for completing the square. It all involves the second term here, or the term that's multiplied by x. You're going to take this term and you're going to divide by 2, then square it. I'll repeat that again. You take the second term, the middle term, you divide it by 2, and then square it. So if you want, we'll just simply do this on the side. I'll do it here on the left side. So you're going to take minus 4 over 3. Now you can either divide by 2, or in this case, if it makes it easier, multiply by 1/2. Okay, and then if you do that, that gives you, if you simplify the 2 and the 4, it becomes 2 and 1, and then just multiply across, it becomes minus 2 over 3. And then we're going to square it, which makes it 4 over 9, right? Okay, so then we're going to take this number, and we're going to fill it in the blanks. So we're going to put a 4 over 9 here, and a 4 over 9 here. Okay, so that's the main step, and from here, now we're going to do some condensing. We're going to take the right side of the equation, and automatically, because this is called completing the square, it's because this equation right here on the left side is a perfect square binomial. So all you have to do is we're going to turn this into a binomial, like so. You're going to take the ends, the first and the third term, which are perfect squares. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 4 over 9 is 2 over 3. And then you take whatever the sign is of the middle term. In this case, the middle sign is negative, so you put a minus sign in between. And then for the right side, you just simply have to add it. So if it helps, so we're going to do a common denominator of 9. So it's going to be 4 over 9 plus another number over 9. To get from 3 to 9, you have to multiply by 3, so it'll be 1 times 3 on the top, which is 3. And then 4 plus 3 is 7, so it'll be 7 over 9 over here. And then I'm just going to copy down what we already have here. Now that's the basic completing the square method. And then from here, it's just using simple algebra to solve for x. So let's do that. I'm going to continue on the next page, but for right here, I'm going to show you that here we have on the left side we have a squared. In order to get rid of the squared, you have to take the square root, because it's the opposite operation. So we're going to take the square root on both sides, like so. Then square root of a square is just gets rid of the squared. So on this side we just simply have x minus 2 over 3. And then don't forget that once you take the square root, it includes both positive and negative. So on the right side we have plus or minus square root of 7 over 9. Okay, I'm going to continue this on the next page. So here I'm just going to rewrite what we have on the last slide, which was x minus 2 over 3 is equal to plus or minus 7 over 9. Now 7 is not on the top, is not a perfect square, but the 9 is. Square root of 9 is 3. So we're actually going to rewrite this as x minus 2 over 3 is equal to plus or minus square root of 7 on the top, but a 3 on the bottom. And that gets rid of that one. And now the final thing we have to do to get x by itself is to move the negative 2/3. So we're just going to add it. Add 2 over 3 here, and then add 2 over 3 there. So now our final answer is going to be x is equal to 2 over 3 plus or minus root 7 over 3. And that's our final answer. And then if necessary, if you want to write it as a solution set, or the two answers completely separately, then you can just simply write the answers so. X is equal to 2 over 3 plus root 7 over 3, comma, 2 over 3 minus root 7 over 3. So then there's your answer, right? Oh. Right there. Okay, so there's your answers. And it makes sense because it is a quadratic equation, it should have two answers. Or at least two, either two real answers, or two unreal answers, or one answer that's being shown twice. Okay, and now I'm going to do an example of the quadratic equation, which is something that everybody needs to know and definitely have memorized. So let me just start off with the basic form, with the basic standard form. The standard form, when you have to have in order to apply the quadratic equation, is you need to have it written as such: ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, where a, b, and c are constants or numbers. So essentially you have to take all numbers and everything and move it to the left side of the equation. So let's save this, and then once you have it like that, then let me actually write out the quadratic equation in terms of these letters. So in this case our variable is x, so x is going to be equal to, and the quadratic equation is as such. It's going to be minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. Now that is the quadratic equation, and then this is an equation that you must have memorized because you will use it multiple times in algebra and in general whenever you're working with quadratic equations. Okay, so let's go into an example. Say you had an example written as such. 3x squared is equal to 5x plus 2. As you can see, it's not in the standard form that we need that's at the top of the screen, so we need to make it as such. So what I'm going to do is move all of the terms to the left side of the equation. So I'm going to subtract 5x and subtract the 2 simultaneously. And subtract 5x, subtract the 2. Okay, here it cancels out. So now our standard form is 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now it's in standard form, and we can actually apply the equation. Okay, so if it helps, sometimes on the side of the screen you can write what the or on the side of the paper you can write what the coefficients are separately. That way it's just a matter of plugging into the equation. So if you remember, let me actually go back and do it on the previous slide. I'll do it here. In this case, a is equal to 3, b is equal to minus 5, and c is equal to minus 2. So then simply you plug a, b, and c into the quadratic equation, which I'll do in the next slide. Now please keep in mind that when I chose those coefficients, all of them that had the negatives in front, I had to make sure I brought those along too. So x is equal to minus b, so it would be minus the negative 5 plus or minus, okay, b squared, so it's going to be minus 5 squared minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is minus 2. Okay, and then the whole thing over 2 times a, or 2 times 3. Okay, so let's go step by step to do all the math. So x equal minus 5 is the same thing as positive 5, so I'm just going to write this as positive 5 plus or minus, let's write the square root over again, negative 5 squared, which is positive 25. Okay, and now we have a negative 4 times 3, which is a negative 12. Negative 12 times a negative 2 is positive 24. Okay, and then it's going to be all over the denominator, which is 2 times 3, which is simply 6. Okay, now let's take care of the radical. Okay, just rewrite the 5 plus or minus 25 plus 24 is 49. And then it's still all over 6. Okay. Now 5 and then plus or minus. In this case, we're lucky because 49 is a perfect square. Square root of 49 is 7 over 6. Okay. And then here, simply we can just write the two answers out by adding and subtracting in the middle. So now our final answers are going to be, okay, 5 plus 7, which is 12, divided by 6, which is 2. And the second answer is going to be 5 minus 7, which is negative 2 over 6. And that is a negative 1 over 3. And then those are your two final answers for when solving with the quadratic formula. So thank you for visiting the NJIT website. If you need any further assistance, please stop by the CAPE or the Center for Academic and Professional Enrichment located in Kufrian Hall, room 200. Good luck in your studies.